This video will explain how the individual grades that you get on the different assessments, so the grades of mastery, progressing, or novice, then translate into letter grades in the course. Because I know this is going to be very different for everybody. So basically, this chart shows exactly how it translates. So you'll notice if you look at the concept checks, if you master 16 out of the 20 concept checks, then you get a grade of A for your concept checks. 14 out of 20 will give you a B, and these things are thresholds. So if you get 15 out of 20, you still have a B for concept checks. So that lays it all out. Then guided practices, in order to get an A, you need to master 57 out of the 63 guided practice exercises. And you also need to get a grade of mastery on all the core guided practices. So you'll notice if you look through the list of different modules, some of the modules are labeled core and some are not. So all of the ones that are labeled core are the ones that I feel that coming out of this class, anyone coming out of this class who has passed this class should have a good understanding of these materials. So maybe not perfect, because you'll notice that you only have to have progressing on all of the core learning modules in terms of the learning modules or the timed assessments. It's mastery for guided practice because the only two grades on guided practice are mastery or novice. So it's pretty easy to get a mastery on the guided practices. So in saying progressing wouldn't have any meaning because that's not a grade you can get on the guided practice. So anyone who wants to get a C or better, basically in the course, should be aiming to, at the very least, be progressing on all of the core learning, on all of the core modules. So you need to pay attention to which ones are the core ones and make sure that you attempt those and that you get at least progressing on those. And this will pretty much just happen naturally through the progression of the course, but you do want to pay a little attention, especially as you get towards the end, to make sure that you haven't missed something as you went along. Because it's easy sometimes to skip over something and then forget to come back to it. If, say you were busy one day and you didn't get to everything for the class, it's easy to then just kind of keep going in the course and not come back and fill in those core assignments. So make sure you do that. So if you get 57 out of 63 mastery on that many guided practice exercises, and you've mastered all of the core guided practice exercises, then you'll have an A for the guided practice part of the course. And then there's different numbers, progressively smaller. So it's basically based on sort of a percentage of the assignments. And the same for the learning modules. So there you need to master 62 out of 68 to have a grade of A for the learning modules. And you need to have a grade of at least progressing on all of the core learning modules. To get an A for the timed assessments, you need to master 57 out of 63 of the timed assessments and have a grade of progressing on all of the core timed assessments. And then for the natural argument projects, to get a grade of A, you need to have mastery on 4 out of 6 of the natural argument projects. And then finally, class attendance also factors into your grade. So in order to get an A for class attendance, you need to have no more than 2 unexcused absences. Then it goes down from there. Now, what I mean by an unexcused absence is an absence that's, not excused. But what types of absences will be excused? So if you're sick, just email me before class starts, say, I'm too sick to class, and that's the end of it. You'll be excused for that day. I don't want sick people coming to class. I'm going to take you on your word at this. You're adults. You can just let me know when you're sick. I'm not going to require like a note from health services, which they don't even do. So basically, I want you to come to class, but I don't want you to come to class when you're sick, because you won't get anything out of it and you'll just make everyone else sick. So you're better off staying staying quiet and getting well. And, if you can, while you're sick, try to work on things by yourself. You can do that, and because that will be totally possible in this class. So that will be more productive than you coming to class sick. What other kinds of things will be excused? Sports absences, other absences because of other college-related things, like, I don't know, a college trip for another class, or I don't know, whatever. We'll work it out. If you think there's something that's like college-related and you have to miss class for it because of some other class or some college organization that you're involved with, it's probably going to count as an excused absence. If you have a family emergency or a personal crisis or something, I'm very happy to excuse those. Also, you just have to communicate with me. You just have to let me know. So send me an email before class. If you have a religious holiday that you celebrate that isn't covered by the college calendar, those kinds of things will be excused. Just let me know in advance. So basically, any sort of reasonable reason for missing class, as long as you communicate with me, it's going to be fine. I'm going to excuse it. I'm not going to excuse you for oversleeping or missing your bus, or you just didn't feel like coming to class that day. Those things will not count as excused absences. Even when you don't feel like coming to class, you need to come to class. And in terms of other things like getting up in time for class, well, this class starts at 1:15, so hopefully that's not actually a real problem. But if it is, that's a you problem, not a me problem. All right. So I guess that's all I have to say about attendance. You should come to class. Class is where we're going to work on the exercises, and we're going to work on them together. So it should be useful to you to come to class, because you'll be able to work on them with me and your peers around to help you if you get stuck. Okay, and so once, so you use this chart to figure out your grade for each of the individual grade components. And then there's a number, so I've said A is going to be equal to 96, B 86, C 76, so forth. And then this will just be plugged into a weighted average that will be weighted as follows. So concept checks will be worth 15% of the grade, guided practice exercises will be worth 10%, learning modules will be worth 20%, timed assessments will be worth 30%, the natural argument projects will be worth 10%, and class attendance will be worth 15%. And then once, have the final weighted average, then this is how it will translate into letter grades, and that's pretty standard. So hopefully all of that should be clear. The thing that's sort of new is translating these grades of mastery into a letter grade. Once you got the letter grade, then it should be just straightforward what you're used to.